What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Chris Rivers. Now, Chris, we've texted a lot this week, I feel like. There's a lot of different things that's been happening. Not really behind the scenes, but, just with us watching Secret Invasion on Wednesday when it came out, we're talking about before the show, just kind of messed my week up quite a bit. But other than that, I know you had overtime this week. How are you?
It's nice to be sitting in air conditioning right now because my job doesn't have it. So,
Oh, yeah, so no, during like the hottest week of the year, and I get out to
and
the Jeep,
overtime.
it's like 102 degrees, and I said, I'm good. So,
Yeah, yeah. So the week's been going all right. We may have overtime at work for the next month or
I,
so, month and a half.
nonsense is what that is.
Yeah,
Absolute nonsense.
that's when someone further up the chain has to figure out why aren't we having to work so much overtime? Maybe there's something else we could do. But anyway,
Add
it's
another
above my
shift on or something. I mean,
above my pay grade.
yeah, which,
I don't I don't know anything. Um, how's your week been?
it's been busy. I feel like that it's been like the answer for the past several months. It's just we've got this new project we've been doing since June of work. And of course, we're on the second to last day of July, and we're still doing this project, which I think it's here to
Mm,
stay. And it's just making me busy. Worked yesterday. I was off today, but you know, it's been alright. Not a crazy
yeah.
week. Not a. The girls came back on Monday, so it's just
Well, that's
been
good.
a. Yeah, it's been a different week. I leave in 2 weeks now, and just I feel like this is our busy part of the year. So from July 31st on, it's always something, birthdays or holidays, or it's high school football starts back up, so we go into all those games in the area, and it's
How about fantasy football?
oh, so listen, here's the thing about that. We need two more people.
Two
we've
more
got
people.
we've got a solid eight that will continue to play year after year after year. But my oldest star is not going to play, and then the other person that we did have is not going to play, nor is like as serious, and will do the things that we need to do and want to do. So I've been putting my feelers out because I would like to do the draft in August. I mean, obviously, but third weekend, fourth weekend, or something like that. But
Cool.
yeah, that's where my mind's at. So,
Yeah.
because I'm really excited because I'm in third place at Final Fantasy Bachelorette right now, and Big Brother's coming up, so I got to do fantasy for that. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nerdwide Podcast, episode 122. As I said earlier, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with Chris Rivers as the co-host to my immediate right. Some quick housekeeping before we get into it. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating, whatever podcasting app you do use. That helps us get reach out there, as well as sharing it. As many eyeballs we get on or ear holes we get into, that's the best way to do it. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment down below. Let us know how we can improve the show. We don't know if it's broke. Can't fix it. So, but other than that, Chris, you been watching anything else this week?
You know what? I did get a chance to watch one thing early in the week, but I'll mention it. I think it's more appropriate to mention in the movies because it was a longer deal.
So we wanted to start the quarterbacks, the little Netflix special. I've heard a
Mm-hmm.
lot of great things from it. We watched the trailers, hadn't actually started watching it yet. But I'm like on episode 3 of What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire. I don't know what you
So
call
good.
those shows, dude. It's so funny. I was laughing hard like through the first 2 episodes. I was like, I don't know why I'm laughing so hard. The emotional vampire guy, I think his name's
Mhm.
Doug or something. No, I don't know if that's his name, but whatever his name is, it just cracks me up. Like so I'm like barely into it, but I am laughing very hard at it. Um, and then like I've just watched 2 episodes of it. I haven't really watched anything else. But as of this week, though, Big Brother live feeds start Wednesday night at 11:30 p.m. and I'm not watching anything else. So it's unfortunate, but it's my favorite time of the year. And Chris, here we go. You ready for this? 100 days of live feeds.
Oh,
one of the longest seasons in Big Brother history. It's going to end at the beginning of November. So my summer show is now a fall show for some reason, which is okay because of strikes and everything, and not going to have anything to watch anyways. So
please to the networks and studios, just pony up money and let's end the
please
strike.
come back. Listen, because reality TV is like to be one of the only things that they can play. Like they're pushing a bunch of movies, which we'll talk about and kind of touch on when we get to the movie section of the show. But a lot of them have already been canceled and not canceled, but pushed back indefinitely or things like that. Like Blue Beetle, Zolo made an Instagram story and he said he's not even allowed to promote it. So before the strike officially happened, he made an Instagram story and a video. He said, hey, a lot of hard work went into this cast and crew. Absolutely love this. So make sure you're sharing it around and things like that. And he said, I won't be able to promote it. So I'm like, that sucks, especially considering the last movie, how poorly it did.
Yeah.
So, but it's just unfortunate. I think we're going to see the fall and potentially even the beginning of winter and or into winter next year is slim pickings on a lot of our stuff, especially if they're not going to pay anything, because that's not good. So,
no,
but something else that is some would say not good: Secret Invasion Episode 6, the season finale / series finale ? Titled Home, directed by Ali Salem. Going back to the Review Geek for our last review here by Arnav Shrivastava. Again, Arnav, thank you so much again for all of your recaps for this season. Fury is surprised to find the facility abandoned. There is hardly a soul in sight. The radiation from the nuclear plants also makes it difficult for him to breathe even though he's taking the pills. He's constantly reaching into his pocket to take the anti-radiation pills to keep him somewhat steady. He walks into the room with the Super Scroll machine where Gravik is waiting. They both place themselves within the confines of the machine as Gravik begins his preaching monologue. He recalls how he viewed Fury as a hero and killed the man whose skin he is taking on his orders. According to Gravik, Fury promised a new home to the Skrulls, who looked with hope towards him as the rest of the community did. He says Talos was a timid general who couldn't stand up to Fury, but Gravik is different and will be different. He says Fury deserves to die for his betrayal and must live with the reality that he couldn't save the human species. Surprisingly, Fury accepts all the accusations and concedes that he did fail them. And for that, he deserves to pay the price. He pleads with Gravik not to initiate the war between US and Russia, and to make good on his promise, and offers him the harvest. Gravik watches incredulously, as even more so when he authenticates its contents, which is everybody. Like, literally everybody that was at the Battle of Endgame, their DNA is there. The machine with the DNA of the Avengers is switched on to give Gravik their powers. After the machine does its thing, Gravik emerges shirtless in his true avatar, an imposing figure. He was huge and very menacing. I was like, okay, this is a Super Skrull I've been waiting to see all season. Fury is still struggling and backed into a corner by Gravik, but when he attacks him, Fury is able to withhold his punch. Fury miraculously throws Gravik miles into the sky and out of the facility with a single punch. It is actually revealed that it was not Fury. It was Gaia imitating him, which that's what I was thinking when he initially went in there and dropped the pills. I was like, I wonder if this is an act. And like, because I also have the mind of maybe he is a Skrull and he's just acting. I didn't realize it was actually Gaia though. So that was a cool little twist there. She also has absorbed the powers of the Avengers, just like Gravik has. They begin an epic battle where we see the powers of many heroes and villains being used against each of them. The highlight of the powers on display is that of Captain Marvel, but eventually Gaia succeeds in tricking Gravik by using the powers of Mantis to put him to sleep, which was beautiful, just like in Thanos. Once she does it, Gaia pierces Gravik's heart and kills him once and for all. She proceeds to free all the important emissaries in captivity at the facility, which includes Colonel Rhodes, Agent Ross, and the British PM. Were you also looking at all the people to see if you noticed anybody else?
Yeah.
That's what I was like, there's got to be somebody else we don't know yet. But, which, we can stop here. A lot of people are bashing the CGI in this whole fight scene. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done, and it was fun to watch, and it was also fun to try and point out whose powers they were using. So I thought that was enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, you get the obviously Abomination makes a big
Hmm.
appearance. Uh,
Which is weird because he wasn't at the battle.
or was he?
Or was he? It's a very good point. Did Wong pull him in? That's a
Yeah,
very good. That's a good
because
question.
Wong has a connection with him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Man, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. So
yeah,
like I was talking to Zach about it. I was like, oh, I think because I saw some red too, and I was like, was that the Scarlet Witch? And he was like, he goes, I don't think so. And then we Googled and talked about it. We think it's probably not because Scarlet Witch it's not a DNA thing. It's a magic thing. So like Doctor Strange and her, you can't absorb their powers because it's witchcraft. It's not their blood and powers. But apparently Thor's blood is in there.
yeah,
And so we're like thinking, okay, so what would that entail? I think it's just like a super strength kind of god thing, not
yeah,
so much a powers thing. So
yeah. Um, who obviously Captain Marvel,
yes, that was the big one.
Carol Danvers. That was the one that was obvious. That's when
Drax's
she.
arm at one point.
Hmm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Of course, we knew about Groot.
Hmm. That was a big
Um,
one they used.
I thought it would have been funny, like a humorous little moment, if because Gaia's new to this too.
Hmm.
What if she was trying to cycle through the powers she had access to, and she turned into Rocket?
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh,
Actually, they had a raccoon head on top of a human body or whatever. I don't know why they didn't do something like that. Like put that little Marvel comedy in it.
yeah,
Um,
because this was only 37 minutes.
yeah, this was a very short episode. And the
Yeah.
fight scene, I don't think lasted but two scenes, if that. And I'm like, we could have done a lot more here and had a
Do you
little
think
bit
Gravik
more push.
is he actually?
I don't think he's done. Like, cause he's got extremists. I mean, we've seen her get shot. We've seen him heal his hand. I think the only way to I don't know like is to vaporize these people. But now though, Gaia and if Gravik is still alive are the official most powerful beings in the universe. So,
Yeah.
because I mean, there's nobody that can beat them. She's got Captain Marvel's power. She's got everybody's powers. So I mean, there's no beating them. Which was really weird. What brings up the end of the episode. Um, we'll get there though. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sonya makes a faux call to the fake Rhodes, asking him to secure the president. Panicking Rhodes does as asked. One by one, she and another person take out the entire security detail on the floor. Eventually, it is Ritson, Rhodes, Sonya, and a big surprise, Fury is in the hospital. Rhodes had earlier tried to convince Ritson to launch the strike, and the president agreed with him. It is a bit of a Mexican standoff as Ritson does not know whom to believe. The situation ends with Fury shooting Rhodes in the head and Ritson canceling the strike. He vehemently believes that the alien species is a threat to humanity and declares them enemy combatants, which was really weird of this episode to drop when the UFO Congress meeting happened the exact same day. I was like, something. Anyways, Fury shows up at Priscilla's house and bids her farewell, assuring her that he will always be there for her when she is ready to come find him. Meanwhile, Sonya snarkily agrees to a deal with Gaia. Their agreement is without pretense and mutually beneficial to both of them. I do want to say, going back to the hospital scene, why couldn't so Sonya, shot the one British prime minister in the leg and revealed him as a Skrull. Why didn't she just do that to Rhodes? Just shoot him in the leg. But so Fury says forget it and just kills him, which I would have done.
I wonder if it's because she was worried that if she did deliver a headshot, that she would get killed
Okay,
by his security detail.
yeah. So
Whereas Fury was probably just,
over
F
it. And he said, "Yeah, I've got nothing else right now. We're just doing this."
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions at the end of this, which we'll talk about obviously for the show. But one of the biggest debate right now was how long has Rhodes been a Skrull? And I know we've talked about it, but we'll talk about it after the recap because there's a lot of the director has even weighed in on when she thinks because but I'm like if you're directing this story, shouldn't you know? But anyways,
Probably not because there's no reason for her to.
that's a good point too. She's got to direct it and play out the story. Shortly after, Fury calls Ritson and admonishes him for his hate speech. Subsequent to that, Skrulls across the globe have been under attack and being killed. In the process, many innocent civilians are also being killed. An unhinged Ritson asks Fury to get the Skrulls off his planet. Before Fury leaves for Saber, Vara shows up. She now wants to be called that and not Priscilla, given how the world is reacting to them. Fury reveals that the Kree who took Skrulls' planets are now willing to hold peace talks. He makes one final plea with Vara to come with him, but she says that her purpose is to stay on Earth. She agrees to accompany him until they can make the talks successful. Let's see. I forget this guy's name. Arnav here goes on to explain, says there's still a lot of unresolved arcs remaining in the Secret Invasion universe. It is directly connected with the next MCU film, The Marvels, so all of them will be joining Fury on Saber. The movie will have the wondrous task of resolving some of the unfinished arcs, like Sonya and Gaia joining hands for a secret project, and Ritson's foreboding downfall, given that Thaddeus Ross is supposed to be the next president in Captain America 4, Brave New World. So, in the absence of a second season, this will be the end of the arc for Secret Invasion, so we'll head straight to the Marvels coming. So,
what if? I was going to say, what if Ritson's a Kree?
See, it's I don't know. So, they talked about being in peace talks with the Kree, which obviously that's going to be answered in the Marvels. Like, I feel like we're going to kind of jump headfirst into, I think we're going straight from Secret Invasion directly into the Marvels. Like, I see Vara and Fury coming back up into Saber, and then we're right into the Marvel. And that's how I feel like it's going to go. This show left a lot of unanswered questions, I guess. A lot of people, so this has got an 8% right now on Rotten Tomatoes under the critics. And I'm like, I think that's a little low, and a lot of people are saying that it's because it under-delivered, which I think a lot of people's expectations were high. I'm of the same mind. My expectations were high. But they're saying Fury is in the exact same spot he was when he started the show. And like, there's no, other than we figured out who the Skrulls were, and now the Skrulls are under a kill order pretty much. That's all that really happened here. But I'm like, I didn't think it was that bad.
He's lost a strong ally in Talos. Gravik, we don't think is really dead, but right now we have to presume that he is. So a major threat is gone, and it's given us the Super Skrull.
Yes.
And Gaia. So
which I'm extremely excited to have her back. I love that actress.
They set a lot up going forward. This wasn't meant to pay off a bunch of stuff. Right. This was meant to leapfrog on forward into the MCU with the Marvels and the Fantastic Four. And I think this is the launching pad. And I think once we get further down the road, people will rewatch this and go, okay, this is actually really good. Because they'll understand where they're going.
It's that thing right now where everybody loves to hate on the same thing the exact same time, and review bomb and all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think it was that bad. I expected more, but it's definitely not my favorite of the MCU TV shows. And it's also not my least favorite of the MCU shows. So, I mean, it's not, I think it's like right in the middle of the pack for me.
Yeah.
But no Chloe Bennett. Kind of disappointed about that one. And so all of the bodies that Sonya and Gaia were down in, like I'm assuming a basement with all the people that the Skrulls took over, was that all of the ones that Fury was helping, I guess, like take over their lives? Or is that more from Gravik's?
I think that was
Gravik's. So there was, because there was a lot of people. But I do have some Easter eggs here. Some Easter eggs, not really Easter eggs. So we'll see. Let's see. The harvest includes more MCU characters than just the Avengers. We see Ghost, which they did use the Ghost powers. So I'm like, was she at the Endgame fight? I mean, I guess a lot of these people had to be for them to have all this blood sample. See, DNA cycles through cold obsidian, frost beast, floor colossus, which the scrolls already had access to, but then it continues to go through more of the MCU characters. It includes Corvus Glaive, Thanos, Outrider, Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, and the Chitauri. Ghost is a code name for Ava Star, who we saw in the second Ant-Man and the Wasp. And Abomination on the hand. So that's what someone brought that up as well. Abomination, on the other hand, has been in custody since the events of the Incredible Hulk. Emilia Blonsky was last seen in She-Hulk, and it's made clear that magic was used to break him out, so we're assuming that he got broken out during the fight as well. So, I'm curious, though, if we could go back and see if he's in it, because that'd be hilarious. Okay, here's the theory. James Rhodes in a hospital gown. When James Rhodes and Everett Ross are awoken by Guy releasing the humans held, Ross wonders how long Rhodes has been in there because he's groggier and more unsteady than all of the others. The implication is that he's been in the hands of Skrulls for a very long time, and that's reinforced by what he's wearing. James Rhodes is wearing a hospital gown which is exactly identical to the one that he was wearing at the end of Civil War, when he had surgery to repair damage to his spine from the fall in the sky. And so that's the director was asked about that, and she said she's assuming that it was from Civil War because of that. Again, MCU doesn't do anything by mistake, and wardrobe's a big thing.
Which makes sense with the legs, because he would have not had time to rehab and learn to walk again.
Right. So, let's see, that would mean the James Rhodes who helped the remaining Avengers during the blip and the James Rhodes who fought in the battle against Thanos was a Skrull, which makes Gravik not having access to the Avengers' DNA something of a plot hole, and also makes the goodbye between Tony Stark and James Rhodes even sadder. So, one-term president stuff, we talked about that earlier.
That means that
Rhodes doesn't know about Iron Man. Or even the blip, right? I don't even think he would know about the blip.
Which would beg the question, what would have happened if he had been blipped?
See,
were the people down there somehow, because of the state that they were in?
Because you blip right back to where you blipped from. So if he was already in one of those little containment pods, I guess he would have blipped right back into the containment pod.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have hooked back up to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, it's a lot of plot holes there. Peace talks with the Kree we talked about, and that's just about all of the references there. So, but Secret Invasion, not my least favorite, not my favorite. I still think, what was it, Captain America, Falcon and Winter Soldier still my top, with WandaVision second.
Sam and Bucky.
Just easier that way. Captain America and Bucky at this point. But will we get a second season? I kind of hope so, because they could do a lot with this.
Yeah, I think they could use this the way that they seem to want to use Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Back in the day, where they could drop in between the movies a few episodes to further the plot while you wait for the next theatrical release.
Yeah, which I'm still so bummed we did not get Chloe Bennett or Ming-Na Wen. I feel like this would have been the perfect time to bring either one of those two back. But that just means Chloe Bennett was not lying when she got angry at that interviewer. So, kudos. All right, ladies and gentlemen. My Adventures with Superman, Episode 5, titled You Believe a Man Can Lie. I freaking loved this episode. And I think it might, other than the premiere, this might be my favorite one. Directed by Diana Hugh. Hoping to confess his burgeoning feelings for Lois, Clark asks for her help in developing a story about the stolen military technology spreading throughout Metropolis and a mysterious individual kidnapping anyone using them. However, she sees it as an opportunity to expose him as Superman. Using an old dispatch scanner, she chases down Superman as he foils various crimes throughout the city, and eventually meeting him after he defeats Heatwave, another criminal empowered by the stolen technology. While Superman is distracted, Heatwave escapes, believing he is behind the kidnappings. After he drops off Lois at the Daily Planet to keep her safe, he reconfronts Heatwave and discovers the true culprit behind the abducted criminals is an armored Wilson, aided by similar robots that Willis used in the first episode. There's a subsequent fight soon endangers civilians, leading to Wilson's superiors, the General and Amanda Waller, ordering him to withdraw so Superman can save them. After returning to Lois, she forces Clark to reveal his secret identity to her and is left emotionally devastated. Meanwhile, Jimmy is disappointed to learn that Clark and Lois failed to attend a pre-planned camping trip to investigate Bigfoot sightings with him. He goes alone, and we see a gorilla kidnapping him at the end. I liked the, I guess, is it a C or D storyline or plotline here with Jimmy and I cannot remember the other guy's name, the mustached guy. I just watched.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
But I love the C story with them, especially
Yeah.
like with he's the antagonist to his YouTube channel about aliens and things like that. He's the Na or whatever they call him. I thought that was a very very fun little callback. But it's being theorized online, Chris, that the general is General Lane, Lois's dad.
Interesting. Interesting.
And that's
I
going
mean, it
to be
seems like a natural direction to take it, right?
But I'm curious to see because they really do not want Superman. What do they call it? A 0 day? They say we're not going to have another 0 day, and we don't know anything about that yet. But I think it has something to do with his memories that he keeps having whenever he fights these guys. And I'm pretty sure that technology is Kryptonian. Because he said that something about it is very familiar, and then when he grabbed it that one time and crushed, I think it was the Heatwave's minion, like he had a little flashback to something, or had memories, or whatever you want to call it. But I think this was a very good episode. Like it pushed it further along. We got the Superman and Lois figuring it out, or Lois, officially telling Clark she knows that she is upset with him because she does not like being lied to. And I think it's all going to come to a conclusion. We've got 4 episodes left. So episode 6 is titled My Adventures with Mad Science. Episode 7 is Kiss Kiss, Fall and Portal. So I imagine we're going to see some, loving romance there. And then episode 8 and 9 is titled 0 Day. So I imagine that is a part 1 and a part 2. But they are, as far as Wikipedia is concerned, it's August 18th is part 1 and August 25th is part 2.
So we get part 1 the week Blue Beetle drops.
Yes, we do. The same day.
That'll be a nice little weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I'm
got that
really
weekend
enjoying the
off
show.
work.
Perfect. So we're gonna have some fun. But I'm excited. It's going to be a good series. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I feel like the animation was on point. Heatwave was a fun little enemy, and they put a lot into 22 minutes, and it doesn't feel rushed either. I really enjoyed it. I feel like all the storylines just kind of worked here, and I am very curious to see if it is General Lane, because working with Amanda Waller and Slade Wilson, interesting. That's what we've got going on here. So. All right. So we're going to go on to full spoilers for this next one. We're not really doing a whole recap, but we are going to review. Actually, no, let's do it. Heroes and Douche Canoe of our week. Secret Invasion. Start with Douche Canoe this week. Rhodes, you could say. For trying to finish the war and everything. I don't really think Gravik is a Douche Canoe here. For My Adventures with Superman, you could do Slade Wilson for killing all the grunts. That's got the technology and killing all of them off, which was just, by the way, that fight scene with him and Superman was just chef's kiss. I love it. I want to watch this episode again. Could you call Superman a douche canoe for lying about his secret identity? Or
No.
like that's just part of it?
He was raised to do that to protect the people around him, so I don't think.
Which Lois figured out awfully quick, by the way. Just again shows her journalistic ability.
Yeah. So.
What are you thinking?
I'd probably go. I'm tempted to go with Rhodes here.
I'm down for that. Last time. Because he's got a lot of catching up to do. The real Rhodes.
Now we got the real one back, and he's not douchey.
Oh, so. And he is not going to be happy at all. Oh man, I just want to show with him, just coming back and realizing it all, kind of explaining that a little bit more. I don't know why they could do like a 3 episode little
We
mini
could
series.
we could get a rehab montage with Eye of the Tiger playing over it or something.
Yeah. Go visit in the graveside of Tony Stark and everything.
Oh, that'd be
Uh,
such a sad moment to see.
God, wouldn't it though? Heroes of the week, obviously Gaia. I
Uh,
could say Sonya, Fury. I don't think he did that much.
I think it's got to be Gaia, right?
I'm down for that because I mean, even Superman and Lois, you just have Superman still,
Yeah,
and that they're really I'm down with that. Gaia and so we got Gaia and Rhodes for our Heroes of Douche Canoe of the week. I
yeah.
like it. All right,
Imposter Roads.
I want to talk about this one again. I don't really have a recap here to read through. But Adam Eve, the little special we got, about 55 minutes, I think, from title to end credits. And I really enjoyed this. I forgot how much I love the Invincible animation and their storylines. I really want to read the comics. I need to see if I can find it before the season 2 comes out because that's going to boost the sales up again. And I don't want it to boost the prices up. But I really, really, really enjoyed this. We got several different stages of life for Adam Eve, and man, it hurt with Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
As I forget the agent's name, but as soon as I heard his voice, I was like, "Oh, this one hurts, man." But what'd you think
Yeah.
of it? What were your thoughts on this?
I liked it. It was it was a fun watch.
Yeah.
I think just being back in the Invincible universe was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing some of those characters again.
I mean, we missed out
Um,
Omni Man twice during this. Like the very
yeah.
beginning, like when he was very first recruited into the World Savers, whatever they're called. Um, what is-
Guardians of the Globe.
Guardians of the Globe, which is pretty cool because like he was called a reservist and he came in for just a little bit, and then to see him at the end, which was kind of like a post credit scene with Mark as Duct Tape Man, was the funniest. But then they had the weird little him getting angry at the end, which we obviously know is because he wants Mark to get powers, and he was very pissed off because he didn't think he was going to. But I didn't really think that particular thing was needed. But you know, I
I
think the
get,
standout thing though, in this whole little special, was the bridge fight scene with the
mhm.
cool use of her powers, and the animation was top notch, like very very cool, right there at the end. And then she obviously found out she took that limiter off of her brain and is able to mess with biological people, which is
Yeah.
very, very cool. And I mean, it ends right when Invincible starts. So,
Yeah.
which I can't wait. But I did like how they did say, where was Mark doing during all of this? And it showed him as Duct Tape Man. So it's just stupid. But, you know, that's why I love this show.
They're having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one review where they were actually saying this is why superhero shows are better animated than live action.
I agree.
Yeah, to a point.
To an extent. Yeah.
It's fun to see what folks can do in live action too,
Mm-hmm.
with effects and everything.
I just,
Uh,
but it just makes it much more sadder, I think, because we only get 4 episodes and then they go on an indefinite break.
yeah.
And same thing with the writing strike and the acting strike. When are we? I don't think it's connected to that, but I could be wrong. Actually, let's see. Why are we getting a season 2 Invincible break? Because I'm sure it is. Oh, they don't. So nobody knows. The Economic Times are saying it could be a strategy to spread out its releases or and give people the animators time. But
They've had a long time though.
yeah, it's been since 2021, and here we are 2 years later. But they said they've already done the VO for season 3, so it shouldn't take long to get to season 3. But
So the question then, if they've already got it done, like they got the voice work done, so the actors would have no further involvement.
that's a good point. So you should be
Where the
able to.
animators, where do animators fall in the strike, right? Because
Are
they're
they on?
not
Are they on strike?
they're not writers.
Look
They're
into
not
that.
actors. So could the animators continue working on it?
Are animators on
I don't even
strike?
know if they're I don't even know if they're unionized. If they are, who do they fall under? Because I don't think there's an
That's
and
a
maybe
okay. So artists and writers have their own union called the Animation Guild, separate from the WGA, and their contract
okay,
runs through mid 2024. So they're not on strike. So
okay,
this is where we could get a good time for animation to boost up.
yeah. But
So
now and this is kind of one of the things that the actors are concerned about because technically, with the technology that we have, they could put an actor's voice into an AI.
and
And
that's the whole issue that a lot of these people are striking about.
yeah, yeah, because
And
then they could just have that actor voice the character through an AI.
mm, oh,
Yeah.
so ABC Los Angeles has got an article here. Hundreds of animation guild members are joining the WGA on the picket line for the first time. So,
Oh,
so some it looks like some of them are picketing as well. So, which is fine. So we'll see. I'm telling you, this is the first time since what the 1990s it was no it was 1980s that both of these have striked at the same time with
yeah.
the acting and writers. So I think we're about to. I kind of brought it up at the beginning of the show, but we're about to be at a weird point for our television movies.
I think I think it gets resolved this next month.
I I would hope so, because I mean even if it does, that we're still what that's 2 months. Everything's pushed back at least. Um,
Yeah.
so it's very curious, man. It's a lot of the podcasts are even not able to do anything, or people aren't able to do interviews or promote things. I'm like, that just sucks because there's a lot of good stuff coming out there this year, and not to be able to advocate for your project is kind of rough. But it's not like they're
I,
getting
I,
residuals anyway, so what's it matter? Which is the whole
I
point.
wonder I wonder how some of that works though, because surely if you're talking about stuff that's already released, like if you're just coming on to do an interview
Right.
and talk about your career, and I guess you could still do that without technically,
Well, see, that's like what
e-
Zachary
even though
Levi.
you're promoting stuff that studios are still making money off of
Right.
by doing that.
See, it's a weird line. Like even Zachary Levi was talking about it because he's wanting to potentially do a Chuck rewatch podcast, which I would pay for Patreon for. I'm just gonna be honest. It's just
Yes,
is what it is. Just because I would love for Zachary Levi to sit down and talk about every episode.
I think it'd be great if he and Yvonne Strahovski
Oh
teamed up
God,
for that.
which is her birthday today, by the way.
Is it?
Hmm.
Happy birthday.
I don't know how old she is. I haven't even seen her or anything since.
It's impolite to ask.
No, yeah, that's true too. But he said, I don't know, because someone asked him on Twitter. He said, "What could you do that?" And he said, honestly, he would have to reach out to the union members and things like that to see what the guidelines are, because the whole thing is residuals with streaming, because he could have all these people watching it, and nobody's getting money but the studios and the streamers. So, which the actors and writers things aren't getting it, which is a part of the whole strike too, and so it's a weird slope there.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Mm-mm, I do not at
I
all,
don't
and I want this to be done already.
I don't like it when mom and dad fight.
I'm tired of living through history. I'm just gonna be honest. I am tired of living through history. Okay, this is terrible, and it's just every day we're onto something new. Uh, Releases this week for TV: Wednesday, August 2nd, Star Wars: Young Jedi Adventures on Disney Plus. Wednesday, August 2nd as well at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Big Brother season 25 on CBS. Live feeds go up at 11:30 p.m. Will I stay awake, Chris? Uh huh. So we will see. Will I try and work from home on Thursday just so I can watch it all? We will see. Anyways,
Tyler,
that's it for TV.
Tyler feeding his voyeurism.
Dude,
Uh,
it is a very bad addiction, and I am not ready for it. Because last year I was working from home solely, and so it's all
right.
I did. Like I would work on this side, and this screen right here was people sleeping until they woke up at 11 o'clock our time. So
It's so creepy.
I'm not proud of it, Chris. I am not proud of it. But I can't wait to come back to it on Thursday because
Tyler, what do you do while you work? I watch people sleep.
I'm watching everyone sleep. Oh, so you like it? You do sleep study as a nurse? Uh huh.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I just can't wait. It's my favorite time of the year.
Oh,
And
God.
listen, it's happening during Halloween as well. So
Hey, speaking of which, this next month, right? It's about to be August as we record this.
hmm
We've got to start getting our list together to determine what we're
I will
watching.
have Jamie on it. We have to. We're adding the new Scream in, right? We have to add.
Yeah,
That's gonna have to be like a for sure somewhere in there.
yeah, I think we have to put that in the way we put Halloween Ends in last year. Just
Okay.
like, yeah, we're definitely watching it.
God, what a time! I forgot all about that movie.
I wish they'd not dropped that. I would rather them have waited till this time of year
Yeah,
to put it out.
February, January, February for some reason. It just,
I mean, Valentine's Day is kind of scary, so.
you know, it's it's Americanized. Just a Hallmark holiday is what I call it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyways, on to movies. We got to get fancy with it. Movies. So, have you watched anything else?
so I
Uh-oh.
watched. I don't know if I talked about it last week. I watched Avatar, the very first one, and just had it on while I was doing stuff around the house. I don't think I mentioned it because it was like right before the show, and I finished it
Right.
that night. But then I started the second one, The Way of Water, that was up for all these Oscars and everything. I'm 30 minutes in, and I could care less. So I'm not going to continue that. But other than that, no. It's
Okay.
just I'm like it didn't. It's not grabbing me. I feel like it's past its time,
Yeah.
and they waited too long. So what about
Yeah.
you, Chris?
I did watch one other thing this week. It was something that came recommended to me. It's kind of a throwback to my childhood. It's a documentary, one of the ESPN 30 for 30s
Hmm.
on woo
Oh, Ric
the
Flair.
nature boy Ric Flair. Yeah. So
Was it a new
very
30
very.
for 30 or
It's newer. I
okay?
think it was done in. Actually, it's on the Letterboxd.
Hmm.
Uh, so let me pull that up really quickly. It's came out in 2017.
Oh, okay. So not
I'm a
even close.
I'm a little late to the show. Uh, I used to watch those 30 for 30s all the time, and then
They've got some good ones on
yeah,
there.
they do. They have some really good ones, and that's one of them. It goes through his career. It talks about, and they mix in some animation to reenact some of the stuff that they
Mm.
don't have footage of, which is kind of cool. Um, he talks about going to Greg Gagne's or Vern Gagne. Greg was Vern's son. Uh, Vern Gagne's wrestling school up in Minnesota, and he quit.
Mm.
Like, after the first few days, he stopped showing up. And Vern Gagne asked his son, where he was. He said, "Well, I think he quit." So Vern tracked him down, and when Flair told him he was quitting and he couldn't do it, Vern Gagne slapped him across the face and said, "You're going to come back to this school. You've got too much potential."
Mm.
And it's
I'm,
like,
I'm glad he
okay.
did because we wouldn't be where we are now.
But
So.
the workouts he would put those recruits through were they were in a stairwell, and it went, I don't know, 5 stories high or something, so like 10 sets of steps, whatever it was. So you would start out, he would have them run up and then run back down. Okay, that's easy enough. But then he would have you fireman carry one of the other guys
Mm-mm.
all the way up, and then you'd both walk down. Then the other guy who had been carried up would fireman carry you all the way up, and
Mm-mm.
then you come back down. Then he would have them do the wheelbarrow walks, where one guy would take the other guy by the ankles, and the guy would
Work out that
all the way up,
forearms.
yeah, all the way up 10
Mm-mm.
flights. Ricky Steamboat's interviewed in this, and he said he had cuts and bruises on his face where his arms would give out, and he would
Yeah.
just collapse and hit the steps. And but of course they talked to Flair about his lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and he said there was no difference in the character on TV and what I did in my off time. And he had to see a therapist at one point, and this was like 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Blair started in 72, so the therapist asked him, he's doing the basic questionnaire. He gets to, uh, do you drink? Blair said, yes. He said, how much? He said, well, I usually have about 10 beers and 5 mixed drinks a day.
Uh-uh.
He said, how many times a week? He said, every day of the week.
Yeah, that's just they're all the
He's
same to
like,
me.
he said, how long have you been doing this? He said, well, I started in 1972. It's 1989. You do the math.
Dude, that's his CWAS score, his alcohol assessment would be horrendous for withdrawals.
It's just, he did that for over 30 years.
Mm.
And he said, think about how good a shape I would have been in had I not drank like that.
But his body would, his body has to shut out on him.
He's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he gives a 10,000 estimate for how many women he was with during his life. And because he pretty much never missed a night.
Yeah.
So,
You know, that's, good. Good for, yeah. No
there's,
comment.
there's one other interesting story. They're in like Omaha, Nebraska or somewhere.
There ain't
Jim
nothing
Ross,
out there.
who's well, that's the problem, right? Jim Ross was the commentator at the time for the company, and he and Flair go down to the bar, and Jim Ross is thinking, oh, we'll go down here, have a couple drinks, and talk for a little bit. That'll be it. He said, well, with Flair, everything had to be a party.
Mm-hmm.
So we walk in, and there's like 8 to 10 people in this bar. The entirety of the bar, 8 to 10 people. Flair walks up to the bartender, orders 137 kamikazes, and starts passing them out. And before you know it, we got a party.
Jesus, dude. I mean, you're not gonna, when you die, your money just goes away. So,
Right?
God,
Well,
could you imagine just being in some random bar one night and like, nah, you're not leaving. Tell your missus you'll be home late because we are partying.
yeah. You're partying with the nature boy.
Oh
it's
man,
it's very entertaining. I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 stars on
nice.
Letterboxd. It's definitely worth watching. Yeah, especially if you watched wrestling in that time and are familiar with who he is. And it's fun.
Yeah.
Our films of the week are also fun. This was Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 2.
T.
2. We're going to, I'm going to do the usual plots off of Wikipedia, and then we'll kind of discuss briefly each one. Most people have seen these, so I mean, we'll just kind of
These are the
parade.
second times I've watched them this year.
In 1988, following his mother's death, a young Peter Quill is abducted from Earth by a group of alien thieves and smugglers called the Ravagers, led by Yondu Udanta. In 2014, on the abandoned planet Morag, Quill steals a mysterious orb but is attacked by forces of the fanatical Kree renegade Ronan the Accuser, led by Korath. Although Quill escapes with the orb, Yondu discovers his theft and issues a bounty for his capture, while Ronan sends the assassin Gamora after the orb. When Quill attempts to sell the orb on Xandar, capital of the Nova Empire, Gamora ambushes him and steals it. A fight ensues, drawing in a pair of bounty hunters, the genetically and cybernetically modified raccoon Rocket and the tree-like humanoid Groot. Nova Corps officers capture the four, detaining them in the Kiln prison. An inmate there, Drax the Destroyer, attempts to kill Gamora due to her association with Ronan, who killed his wife and daughter. Quill convinces Drax that Gamora can bring Ronan to him, though Gamora reveals she has betrayed Ronan, unwilling to let him use the orb's power. Learning that Gamora intends to sell the orb to the Collector, Teneleer Tyvan, Quill, Rocket, Groot, and Drax work with her to escape the Kiln in Quill's ship, the Milano. Ronan meets with Gamora's adoptive father, Thanos, to discuss her betrayal. Quill's group flees to Nowhere, a remote lawless outpost in space built in the giant severed head of a Celestial, as you do. A, a drunken Drax summons Ronan while the rest of the group meets Tyvan. Tyvan opens the orb, revealing the Power Stone, an item of immeasurable power that destroys all but the most powerful beings who wield it. Tyvan's slave Karina grabs the stone, triggering an explosion that engulfs Tyvan's collection. Ronan arrives and easily defeats Drax while the others flee by ship, pursued by Ronan's followers and Gamora's adoptive sister Nebula. Nebula destroys Gamora's ship, leaving her floating in space, and Ronan's fighters capture the orb. Quill contacts Yondu before following Gamora into space, giving her his helmet to survive. Yondu arrives and retrieves the pair. Rocket, Drax, and Groot threaten to attack Yondu's ship to rescue them, but Quill negotiates a truce, promising the orb to Yondu. Quill's group agrees that facing Ronan means certain death, but that they cannot let him use the Infinity Stone to destroy the galaxy. On Ronan's flagship, the Dark Aster, Ronan embeds the stone in his warhammer, taking its power for himself. He contacts Thanos, threatening to kill him after first destroying Xandar. Hateful of her adoptive father, Nebula allies with Ronan. The Ravagers and Quill's group join with the Nova Corps to confront the Dark Aster at Xandar, with Quill's group breaching the warship with the Milano. Ronan uses his empowered Warhammer to destroy the Nova Corps fleet. Drax kills Korath and Gamora, defeats Nebula, who escapes, but the group finds themselves outmatched by Ronan's power until Rocket crashes a Ravager ship through the Dark Aster. The damaged Dark Aster crash lands on Xandar, with Groot sacrificing himself to shield the group. Ronan emerges from the wreck and prepares to destroy Xandar, but Quill distracts him, allowing Drax and Rocket to destroy Ronan's Warhammer. Quill grabs the freed stone, and with Gamora, Drax, and Rocket sharing its burden, uses it to vaporize Ronan. In the aftermath, Quill tricks Yondu into taking a container supposedly containing the stone and gives the real one to the Nova Corps. As the Ravagers leave Xandar, Yondu remarks it turned out well that they did not deliver Quill to his father per their contract. Quill's group, now known as the Guardians of the Galaxy, has their criminal records expunged, and Quill learns that he's only half human, his father being part of an ancient unknown species. Quill finally opens the last present he received from his mother, a cassette tape filled with her favorite songs. The Guardians leave in the rebuilt Milano along with a potted sapling cut from Groot, which grows into a baby version of him. In a post-credits scene, Tyvan sits in his destroyed archive with two of his living exhibits, a canine cosmonaut and an anthropomorphic duck. Howard the Duck.
Mm-hmm. To be exact.
Yes.
What did you give this one?
4 stars.
4 stars. I came in at 4.5 on this one. I just love it. It is funny because going into this, I, amongst with a lot of other people, thought this was going to be the MCU movie that broke the MCU. And sure enough, it's one of my favorite ones, just because it is so great. I feel like Chris Pratt is one of the best additions to the MCU, and he is so much fun to watch. And we even talked about that during Volume 3's review. But it's just crazy to go back and see where it all came from.
Yeah, it's we get our bits of Thanos here. We get Ronan. We get, of course, one of, I think, a lot of people's favorite characters out of the franchise is Yondu, with Michael Rooker, the great Michael Rooker. So definitely a fun watch. It's one of the, I hadn't seen this because didn't really go back and check it out leading up to 3.
It's good. So. It's one of my favorite ones. A lot of Easter eggs. Although, one of which there's still one out there that James Gunn says that has not been found and talked about. And there is a certain YouTuber, I forget who it is, I can still see his logo, but he said he is probably the person that has watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 more than anybody, even more than James Gunn himself, trying to find it. And like it's every week he tweets at him, and James Gunn's like, nope. And it's crazy. But I've got a list here on comingsoon.net So Morag, the name of the planet is actually comes from the first Kree leader in the pages of Marvel Comics. In addition, the coordinates for the planet are actual coordinates in the Andromeda Galaxy. There's a projection of a dog scene as soon as we get to Morag, and is actually Doctor is James Gunn's dog, titled Doctor Von Spears. There's a lot of different the Dark Aster. If you take those coordinates that's on there and encode it into a puzzle breaker thing, it actually comes out to this is mom's cancer. So that's fun. Stan Lee is dating is credited as Xandarian ladies man in the film. It's spotted by Rocket. The broker is an actual guy from the comics. Among the artifacts in the broker's shop is a reference to the Universal Church of Truth, a group of antagonists from the pages of Marvel Comics who previously battled the Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, everybody's mugshot while they get into prison has tons of different things. Lila is mentioned in Rocket's associates, which is kind of crazy. I'm just going to kind of go through these because a lot of these are very. Nathan Fillion plays one of the aliens in the prison scene. The Milano, named after actress Alyssa Milano. We see a dark elf in the collector's collection. Someone dropped a spoon. And let's see, we see Chitauri from the Avengers. We see Cosmo. We see Howard the Duck. We see Adam, potentially Adam's pod, which we find out in Volume 2. It was not him. We see some Slither slugs in one of the containers, coming back to James Gunn's horror movie Slither. The Infinity Stones. We see a Celestial. Let's see. James Gunn cameos as a faceless Sakaran in the film. And then Howard the Duck at the end. So. And yeah, I gave this one 4.5 stars. So.
4.5.
4.5.
I mean, those are some good Easter eggs. I think the inclusion of Howard the Duck, very good.
And he's at every single one of them too.
Let's hit up Guardians 2 then. Guardians 2 really blew it out of the water too, by the way. I'm sitting here, I'm scrolling down to the plot, and I see that it had a budget of $200 million.
How much did they cross?
Huh?
How much did they get at the box office?
869.
God. Good for them.
They filmed it at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia.
We need to go down there at some point.
Yes. Maybe we'll go to Dragon Con one year.
God, I would love to.
Here we go with the plot to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. In 2014, Peter Quill, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Baby Groot are renowned as the Guardians of the Galaxy. Aisha, leader of the sovereign race, has the Guardians protect valuable batteries from an obelisk, an interdimensional monster, in exchange for Gamora's estranged sister Nebula, who was caught attempting to steal the batteries. After Rocket steals the batteries for himself, the Sovereign attacks the Guardians' ship with a fleet of drones. A mysterious figure destroys the drones, and the Guardians crash land on a nearby planet. Bearheart figure reveals himself as Quill's father, Ego, and he is joined by Mantis, his naive empath servant. Ego invites Quill, Gamora, and Drax to his home planet, while Rocket and Groot remain behind to repair the ship and watch Nebula. Ayesha hires Yondu Udanta and his crew, who have been exiled from the greater Ravager community for child trafficking, to recapture the Guardians. It's nice to know that Ravagers have standards.
Mm-hmm. You got to have some sort of standards.
Yeah. They capture Rocket, but when Yondu hesitates to turn over Quill, whom he raised, his lieutenant, Kraglin Abvantari, questions his objectivity, and another lieutenant, Taserface, leads a mutiny aided by Nebula, who shot Yondu. Taserface imprisons Rocket and Yondu aboard Yondu's ship and executes his loyalists. Nebula leaves to find and kill Gamora, whom she blames for the torture inflicted on her by their adoptive father, Thanos. Groot and Kraglin, who is remorseful and never intended for a mutiny, free Rocket and Yondu. Using Yondu's arrow, the group destroys the ship and its crew while escaping. Taserface warns the Sovereign before dying. Ego, a godlike celestial that manipulated the matter around his consciousness to form his home planet, explains he projected a humanoid guise to travel the universe and discover a purpose, eventually falling in love with Quill's mother Meredith. Ego hired Yondu to collect the young Quill after Meredith's death, but the boy was never delivered, and Ego has been searching for him ever since. He teaches Quill to manipulate his inherited celestial power, while Mantis grows close to Drax and tries to warn him of Ego's plans. Nebula arrives at Ego's planet and tries to kill Gamora, but the pair reconcile and reach an uneasy alliance, soon discovering a cavern filled with skeletal remains. Ego brainwashes Quill and reveals that in his travels he planted seedlings on thousands of worlds that can terraform into new extensions of himself, but only the power of two Celestials can activate them. To that end, he impregnated countless women and hired Yondu to collect their offspring, but killed them all when they failed to inherit his celestial power. Quill fights off Ego's influence when Ego reveals he gave Meredith the brain tumor that killed her. After Quill violently attacks Ego, parasitically draws Quill's energy to activate the seedlings, which begin to consume the world that they're on. Rocket, Yondu, Groot, and Kraglin arrive, and together with Mantis, Drax, Nebula, and Gamora, they rescue Quill. The reunited Guardians travel to Ego's brain at the planet's core, where Yondu reveals that he kept Quill to spare him from Ego. As the Sovereign's drones return and attack, Rocket makes a bomb using the stolen batteries, which Groot plants on Ego's brain. Quill uses his newfound celestial powers to fight Ego, distracting him long enough for the other Guardians and Mantis to escape. The bomb explodes, killing Ego and disintegrating the planet, which drains Quill of his celestial powers. Yondu sacrifices himself to save Quill and dies in the vacuum of space. Despite having reconciled with Gamora, Nebula chooses to leave and resume her quest to kill Thanos. The Guardians, with Mantis as a new member, hold a funeral for Yondu. Rocket and Kraglin are elated as dozens of Ravager ships arrive, acknowledging Yondu's sacrifice and accepting him as a Ravager again. In a series of mid and post-credit scenes, Kraglin takes up Yondu's telekinetic arrow and control fin. Ravager leader Stekar Ogard reunites with his ex-teammates. Ayesha creates Adam, a new artificial being with whom she plans to destroy the Guardians. And Groot grows into a teenager. Adam, of course, Adam Warlock.
Right there at the end. And we finally get that to pay off. And the third one.
Not done well, though. That was one of my problems with 3. I felt like they just kind of glossed over, oh yeah, this is Adam Warlock.
Yeah, I said, we're putting them in there, but I think a lot of the off-screen things really affected that one. But
yeah,
I gave this one 3.5. For me, I like the first one better, but still a good movie. Not bad at all. A lot of Easter eggs for this one.
I gave this one a 4, by the way.
4.
I had them equal.
Documenting all these. So we see Howard the Duck in the bar at the beginning. Mm-hmm. We see the Ravagers, 2 members of the original Guardians of the Galaxy from 1970s Marvel Comics. You okay? Mm-hmm. You broke the glass? Oh, is that what that sound was? I thought it was a spoon. So from the Guardians of the Galaxy from 1970s Marvel Comics are also seen in the scene, played by, of course, Sylvester Stallone and Michael Rosenbaum. It was good to see. Steve Agee appears in the film. Agee previously collaborated with Gunn on his film Super. David Hasselhoff is mentioned several times, and there's even a picture of him here. Yondu's fin, of course, that's from the comic book. As Rocket, Groot, and Yondu quickly travel through space and time, they stumble upon a planet where 2 Cronin are fighting each other. Eternity is a reference to the Celestial Eternity from the Marvel Comics. Probably one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos is him as talking to the Watchers, which of course the Watchers in Marvel Comics are alien observers who cannot interfere with major events, but instead watch and catalog everything that they see.
And we got them again in What If season 1.
So. James Gunn's parents are seen during the film, during the when the little space buds or seeds are starting to sprout. There's an older couple sitting there recording on their phone. That is James Gunn's parents, which is kind of cool. Xandar, the Nova Corps planet from the first one, was briefly seen during Ego's takeover. Peter Quill's grandfather appears when the seed is starting to take over on the planet on Earth. We get a little Pac-Man kind of cameo kind of thing, kind of funny. Yondu's trinkets at Yondu's funeral. His various doodads and trinkets from his console are placed around his body, including the gem frog he took from the broker in the first film, and Peter's troll doll. We see Cosmo makes a cameo in the credits. And then Guardians of the Galaxy 3000, the line for the original Guardians of the Galaxy team appears in one of the mid-credit scenes, including Sylvester Stallone as Starhawk, Michael Rosenbaum as Martin X, Ving Rhames as Charlie 27, Michelle Yeoh as Lita Ogard, and Miley Cyrus as Mainframe and Kruger, which never saw anything ever again. So, didn't really pay off. There were a lot of fun things in the credits. Some of the credits in the closing credits transform into I Am Groot before appearing as their final credits. This was post-production supervisor Jennifer Bergman. And of course, we do see Adam Warlock referenced here. Again, did not pay off at the end. Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster from Thor Ragnarok appears quite inexplicably as the credits in the movie. We see Teen Groot in the post-credit scene. Howard the Duck gets one last cameo before the film closes. And then if you see it right before the logos appear, it says no raccoons or tree creatures were harmed during the making of this film in the credits. So
this probably, thinking about it, probably would have been a 3.5 for me. But Kurt Russell's in it, so you got to bump it up.
You've got to bump it up. A Santa Claus, if you will, Chris. Gotta love that movie. So
almost time to watch it again.
Almost, man. What a year. It's already just flown by. Aliens are real. Secret Invasion's here. Come and gone.
No, Secret Invasion, Marvel has come and gone.
Yeah.
But
the real
life one's
still happening.
Yeah. Good movies, man. Next week, Avengers: Age of Ultron and Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, good one. Also watched this year, albeit way at the beginning. Yeah. But Avengers: Age of Ultron, I can't tell the last time I've watched that one.
Been a while.
Mm-hmm. I know I watched it a couple
years
times
after it came out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Something like that.
Which is also the closest one that I think it's the last movie that syncs up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Which
is very unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was.
Yeah, I think that was because that season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. directly played into old Age of Ultron, because they're the ones that gave them the intel of where the Strucker's facility was.
I wish that they had kept that up, honestly, because it was really fun to get like Lady Sif and Nick Fury and some of these folks on there.
I wish they would still do it with the MCU shows. Like, I don't think any of them so far have connected to the MCU movies at large, which is weird.
A little bit.
Because you'd think they would.
They are, in the sense that they're getting us to that next point.
Right.
Like there's little payoffs from it, but it's because we kept thinking we were going to get the Doctor Strange cameo in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't.
Or even Loki and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Didn't get that either. Which is weird.
Yeah.
Strange. A lot of explaining to do there. I did have some news. I forgot to put it on the docket.
Uh-oh.
Beyond the Spider-Verse, the third Spider-Verse movie, has been delayed indefinitely due to the strike. The voice cast cannot complete their dialogue recording in time, and a new date is expected in the next coming weeks. So, Kraven the Hunter also delayed a year, which is kind of weird because it's already done.
It's done.
So, don't know why that was delayed a year.
I bet I know why it's delayed. Because after The Flash did what it did, which was leave theaters in a flash. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet they want to make sure they've got the cast to promote the film.
Yeah.
And the cast won't promote the film as long as there's a strike. So
But you can watch our Craven Reacts trailer on
that's true.
our React channel or playlist.
We're promoting the film.
Yeah. We don't
It
get paid for any of
already
this, unfortunately.
it already looks better than Morbius.
Correct. Not saying a lot, though, but it does.
Low bar, low bar.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so it sucks. I'm more confused about Craven though because it is done. So like you would think,
I want to know the reasoning behind that.
you would think, and I know Flash is a different company, but it's still a superhero film,
Yeah.
and it just bottomed out.
Mm-hmm.
So
God,
uh,
terror. It is so bad. I feel so bad. I mean, it is what it is. And it's unfortunate because I've seen all the cameos and because everything's been spoiled because they are releasing, like WB is releasing chunks of things. And of course, it just pops up on my Twitter or, excuse me, my X now. And I'm like, huh, that didn't pay off at all. So,
I think X is going to be an X of mine soon. I'm going to
um,
slowly move over to Threads.
yeah, they've added following tabs now. Although it's a little wonkety sometimes, but I do like Threads a lot. I'm using it a lot more.
I haven't used it really yet. I signed up for it, but
It's fun. It's
I'm
just,
waiting on them to work out some bugs.
yeah, it's just another alternative. That's all it is. So,
Cool. Well, let's see. We have releases this week from July the 10th to July the 16th. Wait, that can't be
no,
right.
that's not right.
I think
I did not.
that,
That hasn't been updated in a hot minute. It looks like. That's
oh
been
God.
how many weeks ago was it? Yes, 3 weeks ago.
All right, forget that. But we do have releases this week. So we have Meg 2: The Trench in cinemas August the 4th. Don't know that I'm gonna be interested in watching that one,
I'll be watching that one.
especially not in theaters.
Mm-mm.
Then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem in cinemas August the
That's
2nd.
the one with like a lot of good voice actors in. And I
Yeah.
think we might go and see this and take Stella for her first time in a movie theater, like early Sunday morning. So we're not interrupting, people, because she's never been to a movie theater before. And she
Yeah.
loves the Ninja Turtles. So,
She loves the
mhm.
Ninja Turtles.
So we'll
Because
see.
she's smart.
And she's a good kid. She knows what she's doing. She likes playing with my Iron Man glove up here all the time, too. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and watching. We really hope you enjoy this episode of the Nerdwide podcast. Let us know down in the comments below what you thought of the Secret Invasion finale and this episode of the My Adventures with Superman, which I quite frankly think might be one of the best ones. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms and forget to rate and review on whatever podcasting service you do use. On social media, you can follow Nerdwide on X.com now. Be careful, don't type in xvideos.com at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally
Or do.
at Ty. I don't know. I mean, well, you never know what you might find. You can find myself at Ty_Haynes or on Threads at Sir Haynes. You can find Chris at MavTN7 on all platforms. Facebook, you can find us at nerdwide.com, Nerdwide Podcast. Nerdwide are always the first thing that pops up. But as always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. And guys, we cannot wait to come at you next week. And we'll talk to you then.
Later, guys.